I owe an additional $980 because of tariffs.
And right now we have zero sold for this crop that's starting to be harvested right now. So it's a 5-alarm fire for our industry that 25% of our total sales is currently missing.
If tariffs stay where they are now or get any worse, I predict the economy will collapse within a year.
Tariffs were sold as a weapon against foreign competition, but in reality, they've turned into a tax on everyday Americans. From soybeans to shop floors to online businesses, the very people holding this country together are the ones getting crushed by it. In this video, we break down how tariffs are gutting local businesses, punishing family farms, and why the so-called trade war looks a lot more like economic self-sabotage. Before we take a look at everyday Americans being hit by tariffs, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel.
I can't tell you how brutal these tariffs are. I'm a small business. I sell travel and organization products. My brand sells to Nordstrom, Macy's, Anthropologie, and also my direct-to-consumer site. But I'm telling you, everything is so uncertain right now and scary, and some big opportunities that we're going to be kicking off are on hold. I'm just like, what is going to happen? I'm trying not to stress. I've been through over 20 years of business. What goes down comes up, what's up comes down, but this is just like absolutely unprecedented. So if you had your eye on any of my products, I tagged one here, check it out, because I might have to raise my prices and I can't imagine doing that. I don't want to do that. It's like a bad dream, and all I can do is just try and be optimistic, but damn. So support your small businesses right now. If you see something that you love, snatch it up, because prices are going to be increasing. I'm a self-funded small business. This is my livelihood. This is my everything.
I'm sure that people would love to support small businesses. However, with the price of groceries and inflation and price gouging, that's getting harder and harder to do. People are strapped financially. And she's right that in business, nothing is linear. What goes up comes down and what's down goes up. But these tariffs are so unnecessary and put so much more strain on small businesses that are already pretty heavily strained.
If tariffs stay where they are now or get any worse, I predict the economy will collapse within a year. And I have a few reasons to back this up. The first is the wealthy are propping up the economy and the stock market right now, as it's been found that over 49% of spending in Q2 is because of consumers who are in the top 10% of income. Meaning, if you make more than $190,000 a year, you are a load-bearing weight on this economy right now, and it's equivalent to 2020 spending. That is thank you to Nick Roboto, who made a video on that topic. Second, property investments are supposed to be considered the safer of some options because they're always supposed to appreciate. Not only do we have more sellers than buyers, as you can see by the major gap, but we also have people searching for help with mortgage. This was 2008, 2009. That was COVID 2020. That in the corner is us. And to top it all off, as of July, the US dollar has decreased in value by 10%. Your dollar is worth 90 cents now. And Morgan Stanley is estimating that by the end of 2026, it will decrease by another 10%, which I think is very gracious of them because I think it's going to happen much, much sooner. And where the tariffs come into play here is they are objectively making things more expensive. They are objectively squeezing out more people who are no longer able to afford things. And the moment the people who are propping the economy up right now start to not want to spend money, we enter the danger zone. We enter the collapse. If this continues in the way that it is going, they have no other option other than to cannibalize each other and monopolize so that they can squeeze out more people and continue to show profits and maintain this house of cards.
Some of the comments say, we have been in a recession for a hot minute now. Another corporate bailout incoming. Stock buybacks are insane and shouldn't be allowed. I think Apple has done like several $100 billion over the last several years. 90% of the stock market is owned by the richest 10%.
The number of American farmers struggling to stay afloat is on the rise. Family farm bankruptcies last year were up 55% from 2023. And the main culprit for this trend, higher costs.
Fertilizer, fungicides, pesticides, seed, all the other things that go into commodities farming, those prices are at an all-time high. And then the price of the commodities themselves are at an all-time low.
Will Westmoreland is a farmer and the executive director of the Back 40, an organization that advocates for the revitalization of rural America. The cost of borrowing is another expense that has also increased. The number of farms at risk of defaulting on their loans are at their highest levels since 2020. This as banks are reporting a surge of non-real estate farm loans this year compared to last, while repayment rates are dropping.
A lot of farmers that have already spent through their operating capital to pay for these higher input costs, and there's no confidence they're going to be able to pay these loans at the end of the year.
A lot of farmers are running on very tight margins.
Josh Bakey is a policy editor for Farm Progress, which provides agricultural news, data, and resources to American farmers and ranchers. He says since family farms already run on tight margins, they are struggling to adjust to these increased expenses.
So any hiccup, any type of bad year, and a lot of these small farmers are facing, bankruptcy and financial ruin.
Here's a scary stat about family farm bankruptcies. In Q1 of 2024, which is January, February, March, there were 45 filings. Do you know how many there were in Q1 of 2025? 88. That's a 96% increase year over year. So in Q1 of 2024, you had 45 family farm bankruptcies. In Q1 of 2025, you had 88. This is completely unsustainable, but billionaires want to own farmland, like Mark Zuckerberg owns half of Hawaii.
Tariffs. Let's talk about them and how they are affecting my small business. If you guys follow me, you know that I own a series of indoor playgrounds in Massachusetts, and I am getting ready to open up a 5th location next month. I ordered playground equipment from China about 6 weeks ago. It is done and ready to ship. And today I heard from my equipment vendor that I owe an additional $980 on my playground equipment because of tariffs. So can you please explain to me how tariffs are supposed to be good for America and Americans and the US? Because I am now $980 less rich because I had to pay this tax. Is China paying that tax? No. Are Americans paying that tax? Yes. So could somebody explain this to me? Because today I'm having a hard time with tariffs.
Some of the comments say tariffs cause inflation, lower profits from companies, and lead to layoffs and result in consumers spending less money. Countries retaliate and find new sources for goods they used to get from the U.S. Thank you for the transparency. Small business life is tough enough without the extra hurdles. They want us to buy and make things in America, but America literally physically can't do anything on its own without trade.
Doug Fuller's family has been farming in northern Polk County for generations.
Now I get to call all the shots.
He's already nervous about the cash crop he's about to start planting. Soybeans are the target of China's retaliatory tariff, 10% on certain imports from the United States, in response to President Trump's 10% blanket tariff on Chinese goods. Fuller is fearful it spells bad news for the 2025 harvest.
They aren't good for the other countries, they aren't good for me, and who could blame them putting reciprocal tariffs on us? It's just a match, and nobody's going to win.
China is one of the largest overseas markets for American soybeans. According to the USDA, the United States exported nearly $13 billion in soybeans to China last year alone. Fuller has already faced 2 years of bean prices dropping and says it looks as if the trend may continue.
Last year we took a step back, and now we're taking another step back. So I'm, many of us will get through it, and it's going to be tough on others.
Some of the comments say, don't worry, billionaire corporate farming companies will be happy to buy up those family farms at a discount, of course. They'll even let you still work your old family farm for minimum wage. China is buying soybeans from Brazil now, so they don't even need them.
For those of you who don't know me, I own a baby product company. I'm a veteran. I'm a mom who invented a baby product. And because I am a very, very small business, U.S. manufacturers don't produce my products. We are too small. It does not make sense for them. They have very, very high expenses. It's not just the cost of labor, it's the cost of their property taxes, their insurance, all the fixed expenses that we have in the US running our businesses. Those are very, very high compared to other countries. It's not just the cost of labor. So for US manufacturers, they need to do bigger production runs so that it covers their costs and that there can still be some profit for both the person making the products and the manufacturers. I have talked to 12 to 14 different factories in the last month, and none of them can do our manufacturing, especially not right now, because we don't have the timeline or the money to start the process. As a recap, we were shipping 2 containers worth of product. April 9th is when it was supposed to ship, and we were not going to make the deadline for the 145% tariff that Trump dropped in our laps. That would have cost us $230,000 when it hit the US soil, which we did not have. So we held our products in China. May 12th, he dropped those tariffs down to 30. We entered into a 90-day agreement with China where tariffs would sit at 30% is what I have to pay when the products come here. China pays 10% when our products go to them. We immediately tried to book a ship to ship our products, and so did everybody else who produces in China. So we couldn't get a ship booked until May 31st. We got 1 container. Our factory repackaged everything and smashed them into boxes that would fit every square inch of the container to get most of it on the boat, which should be leaving tomorrow.
So after the tariff was lowered, this U.S. veteran still had to pay $35,000 because of the tariff just to receive her product. Why? Because the U.S. manufacturers weren't about to make them. For everyone who's like, just make it in America, like at this point, they are willfully ignorant if they're still saying that, because she literally said, I tried to make it in the U.S. and the U.S. manufacturers said, oh, you're not ordering enough. We're not going to fulfill your orders. What is she to do? This trade war was one big mistake.
And the UPS delivery guy just stopped by and he said, hey, I have a delivery for you. And I just want to let you know I have to collect a tariff in order for me to deliver this. And I said, yep, I saw it come through. So I was tracking my package from my pin manufacturer, and it said at the top, $87 is going to be due for tariffs. Now, this is $87 that is brand new. This is a brand new fee from these stupid tariffs that have been implemented. And so instead of, I didn't know how the process went. So instead of having this package delivered to my client directly, I had it delivered to me because I wanted to see how these tariffs work. And so how they work is that they basically, UPS or your delivery method of shipment, collects these on behalf of, I guess, and reports it to the government. I'm not sure how this happens beyond that. But I know that I paid $87 today to receive 100 custom pins for my client. So I'm repackaging these puppies and I am sending them to their destination in Texas. This is literally something that I hate to include in the cost of it. So I take pretty much a lot of the ownership of a tariff to keep the pins affordable, because otherwise how are you going to do business, right?
Some of the comments say, do not eat the cost, don't sacrifice your income in business, explain why you had to increase prices. People need to see reality, not be cushioned from it. There are people who still think other countries pay the tariffs. They need to learn that's not true. The carrier pays the tariff when they collect the package, then they pass that cost on to the customer who ordered the product to get the money they put out. I just don't want to be caught off guard with extra costs. I've been hit with duties before all this, but at least I know I'm going to be hit at checkout. I was prepared, not anymore. And that's the thing. Like, she's eating that cost right now, so she doesn't have to charge her customers more, but that's unsustainable. Unless she were to get a huge amount of orders all of a sudden, it's just really unsustainable. And with these tariffs and inflation and the price gouging, people are not going to be buying more. People are going to be tightening their wallets, which is why her eating that cost of the tariff is unsustainable in the long run.
How difficult is it to be a soybean farmer right now?
Well, we depend on the Chinese market. And the reason we depend so much on this market is China consumes 61% of soybeans produced worldwide. The rest of the world is 39%. Of the soybeans that American farmers produce, 25% currently have been going to China. And right now we have 0 sold for this crop that's starting to be harvested right now. So it's a 5-alarm fire for our industry that 25% of our total sales is currently missing. And right now we are not price competitive with Brazil. due to the retaliatory tariffs that are in place. Our prices are about 20% higher, and that means that the Chinese are going elsewhere because they can find a better value. And the American soybean farmers and their families are suffering. There's 500,000 of us that produce soybeans, and we desperately need markets, and we need opportunity, and we need a level playing field so we can compete, because we grow a great product, but we have to be price competitive as well. And there's an artificial barrier that is built with these tariffs that makes us not be competitive.
So this is from Reuters from September of this year. By this time last year, Chinese buyers had booked around 12 million to 13 million tons of U.S. soybeans for September to November shipment. But Chinese buyers have yet to book any U.S. cargoes for the new crop year, according to traders tracking shipments. U.S. soybeans are about 80 to 90 cents a bushel cheaper than Brazilian soybeans for September to October shipment. But China's 23% tariff on U.S. shipments adds $2 a bushel to the cost for importers. So one can easily see why these tariffs are a disaster. Now many farmers could lose their farms. They're going bankrupt because they're not able to sell their soybeans. I mean, it's just so simple to see when you break it down, like, oh yeah, if one store is charging higher for a price when I can go across town and get something cheaper that's the exact same product, I'm going to go across town and get that cheaper product. That's what countries are doing. They're saying, oh, well, the U.S. is putting these tariffs on and they're so expensive now, I'm just going to go to another country that's selling the exact same product for less.
So I have 2 small clothing brands and I manufacture in Mexico, and I just got my first tariff bill. Based on this tariff bill that I just got, in order to recuperate what I just paid to the government, God knows what they're going to do with that money, I will need to increase my product cost by $8. So that gives you just a small idea of how tariffs trickle down. If you were in the camp that believed foreign governments, foreign companies paid for tariffs, you're incredibly wrong. It's the importer that pays for the tariff, or they pay for the tariff up front to the business, the manufacturer, but then as a result, their product costs increase. So then what happens? If your product costs increase by $5, $6, $7, $8 due to tariffs, you're going to increase your product prices by $5, $6, $7, $8. So us, the end consumers here in the United States, are going to be paying way more. Small business owners like myself are going to be paying way more, and to try to recuperate as much as possible, we're going to have to increase our product costs. Maybe people are in an industry where they can't increase their product costs that much more, and they just can't afford to pay these tariffs, and as a result, they're going to have to close down their businesses. All the fees that you have to pay, all the different taxes that you have to pay, LLC fees, lawyer fees, accounting fees in America is just becoming so difficult for someone to pursue that American dream that so many people came to this country for. And I think these tariffs that were just imposed, especially considering they were imposed on every single country out there, are going to be the final nail in the coffin for so many people.
Back in the 80s, they told us the wealth would trickle down, but nope. The tariffs are trickling down. That's because tariffs are really a tax on the American people.
Starting today, goods shipped to the U.S. under $800 will now be hit with a 35% tariff. The U.S. is eliminating the exemption, which was in place, allowing packages worth $800 or less to ship to the U.S. without duties. But now, full duties will be collected on all global packages entering the United States. Experts say some Canadian businesses are likely to lose U.S. customers because it's just going to be too expensive. Last year, almost 1.4 billion packages worth more than $64 billion entered America without being charged duties.
In the comments, people are crying about their favorite products. Somebody said, my Korean skincare, the Shein order sitting in my cart, not a problem. Australia has stopped shipping to the U.S. altogether. Great job. This is what a lot of countries are doing now because there's so much confusion with all these exemptions, and then they're removing the exemptions. And so countries are like, we're just not going to ship to the U.S. This is a huge problem. For people who say tariffs won't be inflationary, you are in for a rude awakening. Some of the comments say, buy for $10 equals sell it for $12. Buy for $10 plus $2 tariff equals sell it for $15. How is this difficult? As someone who works in imports for an American manufacturer, he is 100% correct. Our customers pay more. We don't lose our profit. Bring back economics as a core class in high school, please. Don't forget, if the tariff is 3%, the price of goods go up by 6% because the investors want to keep their 3% yearly profit growth. But to end things on a lighter note.
So what are your thoughts on the tariff war?
What's a tariff?
It's a tax on imported goods. Like when you buy something from another country and the government adds a fee. Shein's gonna be more expensive.
No! And that's going to do it for today. I hope that you enjoyed this video and you'll check out one or two of these videos on screen next to me. And I will see you in the next video. Bye.